Well, plenty more to get through tonight, so let's bring in my regular Monday Political Insiders panel. Bill Shorten's former Chief of Staff and former Labor State Secretary Cameron Milner, and John Howard's former Press Secretary David Gazard. Welcome to you both. Well, let's turn to the polling today. We saw both the Resolve poll in the Herald and Newspoll, which spell more bad news for Albanese. Cameron, do you think the Prime Minister would be feeling the heat, given the polls are cementing that it does look like, at best, a hung parliament?
Well, this guy must have the thickest skin in Australia because he hasn't heard the message from the people on the street, the people he's supposed to be out meeting, Sharri. I mean, it's no great surprise. The rest of us who are talking to Australians understand just how badly this government's handling things. I mean, this is a government who has an answer for nothing and an excuse for everything. It's a little wonder that the polls are so bad. But what it shows, both the Resolve poll and the Newspoll, is that Labor's only pathway to government is with the Greens and with the Teals. And Albanese better front up to Australia, honestly, before the election, explain how he's going to do that. Not some excuse, not, oh, trust me on the afterwards. Explain how he's going to govern with the Greens, because that's what these polls show, Sharri. Well,
and your column in The Nightly a few days ago, said that Albanese does need to preference the Greens last, and he needs to come out and say this. David Gazard,
they're a deeply extremist party.
They are indeed. David, there's still a long way to go, though, until Peter Dutton makes up the ground to put him in a position to win minority or let alone majority government. I mean, the coalition's just so far behind on the seats.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, the most likely pathway forward at the moment is you see a minority government either way. That said, there's a long way to go. Most people don't make up their mind until very late in the campaign. And we haven't seen any policies yet really effectively from the coalition. So once that starts and people start making up their mind, but there's only been one-term government in Australia's history since Federation, the 31 Scullin government. So just on sheer history alone, you'd have to say that most people would be very careful about switching their vote this time round. That said, you've seen a compression of voting habits at state elections, bigger swings, shorter durations of government. So, this landscape has changed a lot since the Scullin government, no doubt about that. Since
nearly 100 years ago. And Labor's primary anyway at the last election was just 33%, a record low, and it's only fallen since then. Now, Peter Dutton gave a major speech on nuclear energy policy today. Cameron, the opposition leader said that if the state premiers supported his plan, he'd be able to get it up and running pretty quickly. But the issue is that most of the states, at this point anyway, don't support it.
Well, that's right. And I think even David Crisafulli in Queensland said that he won't go nuclear even if he wins the Queensland state election. So, yes, there's that problem. But I think the voters are making the change here, Sharri. I mean, 19 out of 20 countries around the world use nuclear power perfectly safely. I mean, the French get to Paris Accord numbers because they've got nuclear energy, for goodness sake. So I think it's changing. I think what's changing is when Albo was a young bloke running around in a T-shirt with a placard saying no nukes, that might have worked. 60 plus now, he's not moved with the times. Young people aren't fearful of nuclear energy, and they're becoming a huge voting cohort. And I think on the issue of nuclear, Dutton's got it right. It's the future of getting to net zero by 2050, along with renewables and everything else we're doing as well.
I think that's right, that the fear factor isn't there anymore, David Gazard, because there's, 30 other countries around the world who do use nuclear as part of their energy mix.
Yeah, that's right. And the seal was well and truly broken on this by Anthony Albanese himself when he backed the AUKUS plan, which is going to put nuclear submarines into our harbours over the next sort of 2 decades. So it's pretty hard to say, well, we won't let you have a nuclear power station anywhere near you, but we're going to have sailors sitting on top of one in submarines that we've endorsed and paid for. So I think Cameron's right. And the test of what he has just said is the fact that Peter Dutton has made multiple announcements about nuclear. So he clearly sees it as an iterative process that is winning him votes, not losing him votes between now and the election.
Yeah, all right.
I think you're absolutely right, David. I think you're absolutely right. I was going to say, I mean, Peter Dutton's nuclear power plants are going to be much further away from population and community, and yet, Albo's nuclear subs are going to be sitting under the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I mean, if you're fearful about nuclear, the AUKUS subs are a far worse problem. So, no, I think David's exactly right. I mean, I think the fear factor's gone out and Peter Dutton has been upfront, and yet the polls are still going his way even after announcing this nuclear policy.
Yeah, and it gives another potential solution in any case to the energy crisis in this country. All right, Cameron Milner, David Gazard, really appreciate your time.